Hello YouTube, this is Sam from Taxi Schooling, and in this session of the video we're going to talk about the nomenclature of fatty acid. So in the nomenclature of fatty acid, we have actually got four ways to identify the fatty acid, or use the four methods of nomenclature. The most widely used or commonly used is this method we are going to talk in the end, but we have the four possible ways, and there's one different way in which we are going to define only the positioning of double bond and the double bond. So let's get started. Before discussing this one regarding the nomenclature of fatty acid, we must know one thing, that if you have got the saturated fatty acid, you will be using in the end word as anoic acid. There's an example called octa-anoic acid. The word anoic is added because it's a saturated. Saturated means the carbon is completely saturated by the other molecules, like there is no double bond between them. Alright, in case of the unsaturated fatty acid, in the end word, the word ends, we will be adding anoic acid, which is actually used. So in this case, we have got octa-anoic acid. So E over here actually represents that the molecule, the complete structure is unsaturated, that the fatty acid is unsaturated, but the anoic, which has got A, tells us that it's saturated fatty acid. Now let's move towards the nomenclature. We have got four possible ways. We will be starting with the number one way that was actually used in the old time, like by replacing the name of that carbon number and using the word, or numbering of the carbon, and replacing it by word the oic acid by using the word oic. But in the case of this one, the other classification, the other nomenclature, we will be numbering the carbon atom accordingly. For example, this is COOH, which is always considered as carbon number 1. Remember this one. The COOH, which is the carboxylic group, is always considered carbon number 1, and after that it's all the other carbons are included. Consider this picture, where this one is the carbon number 1, and the second one is this one, CH3. So carbon number 1, carbon number 2, we'll consider this one like this. But we will call the other carbon, the other group, the other methyl group, except the carboxylic group, we call it the alpha carbon. In similar way, this is our main carboxylic group. The other one is called alpha beta. It's clear? So if I write something like this, COOH, CH3, CH3. Alright, so this is the main carbon, this is alpha, this is beta. But if you count them, this is carbon number 1, this is carbon number 2, and this is carbon number 3. So this is another type of classification. The third classification is this one, the third nomenclature way is this one, in which we only talk about the double bond, the positioning of the double bond and the number of double bond. So we use the term delta, this diagram, this structure we use to denote that there is a double bond. So for example, I write delta 9, which means there's a double bond between 9 and 10. I have written here the delta 9, which means that there is a double bond between 9 and 10, and it's only used for double bond. This is very simple, not a big deal. Now let's move toward the fourth nomenclature, which is widely used and basically mostly used, the nomenclature of fatty acid. So in this case, for example, we use this formula to denote any fatty acid. So if you remember this formula, you remember everything. Always remember that the first number, which is represented here, always shows the number of carbon. For example, this is over here, I just write it here. So this is the number of carbon. The second number, which comes after these two dots, actually shows the position. This shows the total number of carbon, and this one shows the number of double bonds. Double bonds. And the last number shows the position of double bonds. Position of double bonds. So for example, we have in this case oleic acid, which it has the formula C17H33COOH. Remember this one. You see C17 and you consider that this has 18 carbon. How that is possible? Look, we count this carbon as well, because as a whole we count all carbon. So we have 18 carbon, but if you see the methyl groups, we have got 17. Methyl group means 17 carbon, except the carboxyl carbon. So we have got 18 carbon. In this case, we have got 18 carbon. So for example, if somebody is giving you this formula, you will understand that there is an element which have 18 carbon, 1 double bond, and which is located between 9 and 10. So in the case of oleic acid, there's a 1 double bond, which this number shows, and it's between 9 and 10. All right. Another example is arachidonic acid. In arachidonic acid, we have got this formula, which number 20 shows what it shows. It shows the number of carbon. There are 20 carbons in the arachidonic acid. Number 4 shows that there are 4 double bonds, number of double bonds. So this shows 4 number of double bonds, number of carbon, and the other 4 number shows the position of the double bonds. So there's a 1 double bond between 5 and 6. We'll just talk about 5 and 6. There's another double bond 8 and 9, another double bond between 11 and 12, and the other double bond between 14 and 15. So this is the most common nomenclature of fatty acid. This is all about the nomenclature of fatty acid. We'll be discussing other related topics later on, but that's it for today. Please make sure to comment us and let us know what would you like to know. Thank you. Keep visiting Tags Schooling.